Admiral Vex Thara studied the tactical display with the satisfaction of a predator cornering wounded prey. The Terran colony world of New Geneva hung before her fleet like a ripe fruit, its pathetic orbital defenses barely registering on her sensors. 47 hegemony dreadnoughts surrounded the planet in a perfect siege formation, their weapons charged and ready. Biological scans confirmed 2.3 million human settlers, reported her tactical officer, mandibles clicking with anticipation. Minimal military presence. 3 outdated frigates and a handful of defense platforms. Vex Thara's compound eyes gleamed, exactly as intelligence predicted. The humans expanded too quickly, spreading themselves thin across dozens of worlds. They lacked the resources to properly defend their outer colonies. For 6 months, the Cytherian hegemony had been systematically isolating and destroying human settlements along the frontier. The pattern was always the same: overwhelming force, complete destruction, no survivors to carry word back to Earth. By the time the Terran government realized what was happening, the hegemony would control half the galaxy. "Signal the fleet," Vex Thara commanded. "Begin bombardment protocols. I want this world reduced to ash within the hour." The first salvo of plasma torpedoes was already streaking toward New Geneva's surface when Lieutenant Ziegtar at the sensor station suddenly stiffened. His antennae twitched frantically as he processed the incoming data. "Admiral," he said, his voice tight with confusion, "I'm detecting massive spatial distortions. Multiple jump signatures, bearing." Space erupted. The first ships to emerge from hyperspace were unlike anything in the hegemony's databases. Sleek, angular vessels that seemed to cut through reality itself, their hulls gleaming with an opalescent armor that shifted colors like oil on water. Each ship was nearly twice the size of a hegemony dreadnought, bristling with weapon arrays that hummed with barely contained energy. "Terran battlecruisers," Ziegtar whispered, checking and rechecking his readings. 30, 50. "Admiral, I count over 200 capital ships, but the battlecruisers were just the beginning." Behind them came the heavy dreadnoughts, massive fortress ships that dwarfed everything else in the system. Their hulls bore the unmistakable insignia of the Terran Solar Navy, a golden eagle clutching lightning bolts in its talons. And behind those came the carriers, their launch bays already disgorging clouds of fighters that moved with the precision of a storm front. Vex Thara felt her confidence evaporate like moisture in a desert wind. "How many ships?" she demanded. 800 and counting, Ziegtar reported, his voice barely audible. "Admiral, they're still jumping in." The hegemony intelligence reports had been catastrophically wrong. Rather than a scattered, defenseless frontier, the humans had been setting a trap. New Geneva wasn't an isolated colony. It was bait, and the hegemony fleet had swallowed it whole. A communication channel opened, carrying the voice of a human admiral whose tone was calm, professional, and absolutely terrifying in its certainty. "This is Admiral Sarah Zhang of the Terran Solar Navy. You are in violation of the New Mars Accords and guilty of genocide against civilian populations. Surrender immediately or face the consequences." Vex Thara's pride fled even as terror clawed at her thorax. "Hegemony ships outnumber yours, nearly 10 to 1 across the galaxy. This is but a fraction of our total fleet." "You're absolutely right," Admiral Zhang replied, and Vex Thara could hear the smile in her voice. "Unfortunately for you, this is our entire First Fleet. Would you like to see what our 2nd through 15th fleets are currently doing to your homeworlds?" The tactical display shifted, showing real-time feeds from across hegemony space. Cytherian worlds burned as human battle groups systematically dismantled their defenses. The images were impossible. The humans couldn't have built such a massive military force without detection. Unless... "My God," Vex Thara breathed. "How long have you been planning this?" since you destroyed the farming colony on Kepler 442b, Zhang replied. That was 18 months ago. 18 months we've spent building the largest military fleet in known galactic history. 18 months of preparing for this exact moment. The human fleet moved with choreographed precision, their formation shifting. Like a living organism. The lead battlecruisers opened fire, and Vexthara watched in horror as streams of coherent energy tore through hegemony shields like paper. The weapons were unlike anything in her experience, not plasma or particle beams, but something that seemed to unravel matter at the quantum level. Quantum disruptor technology, Zhang explained, as if reading her thoughts. We reverse-engineered it from that hegemony probe we captured last year. Amazing what you can learn when you actually try. 3 hegemony dreadnoughts simply ceased to exist, their atoms scattered across space in expanding clouds of ionized gas. The remaining ships tried to return fire, but their plasma bolts dissipated harmlessly against energy shields that flickered with the same opalescent sheen as the human hulls. Impossible, Vexthara hissed. Our weapons should penetrate any known defensive technology. Known being the operative term, Zhang replied. Adaptive metamaterial armor with quantum resonance dampening. Another little innovation we developed while you were busy committing war crimes. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted exactly 17 minutes. When the firing stopped, only 5 hegemony ships remained intact, their weapons disabled and their crews paralyzed by neural disruptor fields that left them conscious but unable to move. Vexthara found herself staring at her reflection in her darkened command screens, finally understanding the magnitude of her miscalculation. The humans hadn't been expanding carelessly. They had been spreading their industrial base across dozens of worlds, building the infrastructure to support a war machine that could challenge the entire galaxy. You studied us, she whispered into the comm channel. For months, you studied our tactics, our technology, our weaknesses. Actually, we've been studying you for over a century, Zhang corrected. Ever since we detected your first deep space reconnaissance drones. We just waited until you gave us a reason to act. Thank you for that, by the way. It made the authorization process much simpler. Boarding pods launched from the human ships, carrying Marines in powered armor that made them look like walking tanks. Vexthara watched them approach with a mixture of fear and reluctant admiration. The humans had played a game she hadn't even realized was being played, and they had won it completely. What happens now? She asked. Now you stand trial for war crimes, Zhang replied. But first, you're going to send a message to whatever's left of your government. Tell them the Terran Armada is coming, and we're bringing justice with us. As the human Marines breached her command deck, Vexthara realized that the age of hegemony dominance was over. In its place, a new power was rising, one that had learned from every mistake, planned for every contingency, and struck like thunder when the moment was right. The galaxy would never be the same.